I've often said a lot of the times that the best way to get better at something, especially when it comes to understanding mechanics, is to study it. But I don't think you all should be going in studying alone. Hello, my name is Bowling King. It's very nice to be hearing you all once again and seeing you all here, and welcome to Study Nights. This is a project I've been brewing around for the past couple of weeks that's essentially going to be a more podcast format of my workshop discussion videos, where I go into talking about mechanical design and more of game feel rather than visual improvements you can make on characters, because mechanical design is often the hardest point for us to cross when it comes to creating characters. And I felt this would be a better way to do my content, as it's less scripted and it's a lot longer than workshop discussion, but it's a lot less niche with specific entries. Today, though, I'm often very bad at being by myself when it comes to commentary, so I took the liberty to go ahead and invite some guests. First guest, I've been on her stream. She's been amazing to work with. She's a great workshop player, but has not been banned from Wars yet. McDucky, thank you so much for agreeing pretty short notice to be on this.
You know, I kind of want to leave after that introduction, you know what I mean? Like, why you gotta roast me 10 seconds in?
I don't know. That's kind of just what flowed out of my mouth.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me on stream, though, or on this podcast. It's great to have you on my stream as well.
Thank you. And secondly, so the original idea for this first episode was to cover Blueprints back when Blueprints was recent, but I ended up getting lazy, so Blueprints has now been almost a month ago. At this rate, I'm very bad with timing. But anyway, I am super pleased to introduce the man behind Blueprints himself, Zetta. Thank you so much for agreeing to coming on to the cast.
Hey, it's good to be here.
I know this is also
it's been a little bit
pretty short notice.
Yeah, I think you told me hey, can you do this thing Thursday? I want to say it was Friday.
Yeah, it was very much more short notice than what I gave Ducky, because I don't think we had a day planned out with Ducky until I think that Friday.
I'm pretty sure we didn't. It was just like, you want to do this Thursday? Yeah, let's do it next Thursday.
And we just kind of moved from there. But yeah, thank you so much for agreeing to come on.
Yeah. No problem. This is a cool idea, so I'm happy to help support it.
So,
yeah.
What I have here today, what I had you all prepare as well, we kind of took a bit of characters that we saw from Blueprints that we really wanted to talk about, or rather, I really wanted to talk about, and I kind of dragged you all into this. And I felt like these were good notes to hit on. Like, these were good characters to hit on specifically for better understanding with mechanical design. And some of you had some input. I know Zetta brought on a few characters he wanted to look at himself, which I was fine with. And Ducky just kind of agreed to it.
But I'm not. I love how you just tell them this oh yeah, you know, Ducky came along. You told Zetta way later than me.
When I told you, it was so one and done. Like when I asked you hey, by the way, you want to do this? It's like, yeah, sure. It's like, do you have anything you want to talk about? Nah. No. You can't blame me for saying the truth. You were the one who didn't have anything you wanted.
I'm too busy participating in tournaments, alright? Drinking to being top 2 every game at Wars. You know how hard that is?
Well, that doesn't sound like that's my problem, though, is it?
Yeah, I can just leave.
You know what? Not. It's fine. If you want to leave, that's fine. Oh God, did she actually leave? I don't think so. Okay. I think we're still good.
No,
right.
She's still here.
So, I guess, Zetta, if you want to go first, since I kind of dragged you into this, I'll give you the privilege of starting us off.
So just pick a character from the list and start talking about
You can pick a character from the list and just go right at it. We'll follow suit.
Roll the
Spin the wheel. Aren't you the random main?
Yeah, I should have got a wheel for this, but I mean, at least for the first one, if we're gonna talk Blueprints characters, might as well start with the first one from the Blueprints presentation, which would be Chess Piece.
That was quite literally the first
now,
one.
That was.
That is the first one, dude. That was a great fucking piece to start off with.
Yeah, I saw that. Architos was just like, hey, I got some cool stuff. You want to see what I got? And I'm like, sure. And then he just hits me, or they just hit me with this chess, fully programmed in Rivals. And I'm just like, what? But then we also got Ruber's character based on chess, which probably one of the more interesting newcomers in general, just because of just how much they do.
I think so.
So, So for those of you who aren't aware, chess pieces' main gimmick is that they're simultaneously a bunch of characters in one, but also not. Each of their moves and the direction that you use the move in basically corresponds to a different piece. Like, I believe up is bishop, so any move like up tilt or up air will give you a bishop. But the gist is that anytime you use certain moves, you switch which piece you are, and each piece has different stats. For example, the rook is really good on the ground, but not so good in the air, and the bishop wave dash is like crazy.
I think that's a good character to start off with, and then she mentioned that because this gives me a chance to talk about something that doesn't happen a lot with workshop characters, but as someone who comes from a background of traditional fighters, God, I wish more people would do. Stances are cool. Stances and states are super cool. So,
not only are they like a stance or going from fighters as well, me and Bowling, we both play on Fight Stick, but going from stances and this character in general feels really cool, since like especially with their strongs, they can just spawn in another piece and they become a puppet character, and it's insane.
Yeah. I really do think chess pieces. I think I talked about this. Like the first workshop discussion video I did was character complexity, because I felt like that was the first one that really kind of needed to be bridged before I did anything else. And I think chess piece is a great example of a point I tried to highlight there, where characters can be like really cool and really fun and also be really complex. Like you can have chess piece with all these different like chess piece stats and still have them be really fun to play as and not like super hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing with chess piece is like if you're looking at that character for the first time, there are so many things going on. And there's probably still a lot of things that, like, even if you're playing the character for a while, you might not figure out. Like the whole queen mechanic where you have to land enough hits with a pawn to get a queen. That's a little crazy to understand, but it's a character that you can just go in, mash buttons, and you'll figure stuff out.
Yeah, I think it's important to definitely the presentation of information. I think the first, like, quote-unquote complex character I ever tried to main was when I first picked up Tekken 7, and I learned about Lei Wulong. And he's one of Tekken's most complex characters because he has a move list well past the 130 mark. Like, most characters only go into, like, 110, some of them, like, 120, maybe 90. He has 13 different stances that all do something unique, and at least 4 buttons in every stance. I have on my stick here, believe it or not, when I got my custom stick made, I had the guy who did the woodwork for me do this. Etched over the top and bottom row is the corresponding button to Lei's stance, because I'd always forget.
So you just have like a cheat
Pretty
book,
much.
like a cheat sheet. Like when you're playing, you're just looking down, you're
Like square is always
Okay.
snake stance, triangle is dragon, I think X is panther, and B is tiger, and right shoulder button's crane? I forget. I still forget now. But I think it's important, like, the way you present your information can help reduce complexity. Like, if I describe to you how Seth from Ultra Street Fighter 4 works, you'd think I'm talking about, like, the hardest fucking thing out there. But because of how, like, he's presented in game, it's a lot easier to understand.
And I also do think it's important to see how you can keep them in character. And especially with their design as coming from, you know, those people that play chess on during high school or like 8th grade. Man, I love chess, but the queen mechanic was really interesting to me, knowing that promoting in pawn is very important, and that you get like a solar beam move that just takes over the entire screen, and like that, and it shows how much care that they put into this character, because it's because the queen in chess is your most important piece, and you want to get it as in action as soon as possible.
You know, I don't think I've ever said this, but I was like a member of the like, I guess, like, you know, like president and shit, like those members of chess club. I was a parliamentarian for my high school's chess club, and I could not think of a more useless job. Imagine your job being to bookkeep the meetings for a chess club. That was my position. I was the only one that signed up for it, so that's why I got it.
Yeah.
I do think, though, I think chess piece is a step in the good direction. I think, like, for characters like chess piece going forward, where you have all of these different stances and properties to manage, I think it's a good step forward, and I think people should, you know, go into looking at other characters with chess piece kind of in mind. I think they're probably super good as a, I guess, closest rivals has to a stance characters, like, in specifics. It's super common for...
I guess...
sorry.
I just wanted to say that I guess the one other thing, which we kind of hit around, but I think is an interesting thing to talk about too, is the fact that chess is a turn-based game. It's not a game that you would really think translates well to a fighter, yet all of the mechanics, if you're familiar with chess, will feel natural to you.
I think that works too. I think it's a great blend of what people like to talk about when it comes to when people say, hey, I want to make X character from X thing into Workshop. And it's the balance of keeping like what's true to the series versus what feels fun to play. Like,
yeah,
I guess a good example, Smash Shulk is not an accurate representation of how Shulk actually fights in Xenoblade Chronicles, but he feels fun. And I think that's an important thing to balance, and I think making a character that's a chess piece from this like archaic skill-based game across human history a super fun stance character, I think that's an achievement to be proud of.
Yeah, for sure.
Just another thing to add really is, I guess, with it being like, there's also like the small references that you can have, as we already mentioned, like promoting the pawn into the queen, and also just like, you can set up puppets by using your strongs, and all of them have hit points based off how much points they are scored in chess. So the pawn is worth 1 point, and the knight is 3, while the bishop and the rook are 5, which is, I think, is a really neat concept that they added.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. That's such a neat touch.
Dude, they went off. Like, they actually popped off with this character, and I love it. And they also added the Final Smash recently for the Final Smash buddy, which is the Mega Chessatron, which is fucking funny as fuck.
Yeah. I saw Ruber posting that on Twitter, and as soon as I saw that, I'm like, this better be what I think it is.
I think it's easy, or rather evident to say, or show, or see rather, how much like love and care went through Ruber into Chess Piece. I think overall, like, definitely a good character, and I think Ruber should be proud of it.
A grandmaster.
I would dare say, yes.
I would say.
So I guess since I don't know the chronology here, are we just gonna go down the list again, or like is the chronology of my list different from how it actually appeared in the direct?
I think it looks about right, but I'm not sure. Actually, no, I know Tomo was near the end, but we can go in whatever order now.
Since you spoiled my favorite ones, I guess we're gonna go ahead and go through there. Tomo! Oh my god, I could write a fucking book about every little intricate thing I love about Tomo. I could write a serious book about it. It could fill several pages of Times New Roman 12-point font pieces of paper. So, the big thing I love about Tomo, and I guess I'll do this because it's a spoiler for my next workshop discussion, but the big thing I love about Tomo is how low their skill floor is and how high their skill ceiling is. Like,
I could agree
when
with that,
Tomo
yeah.
first finally came out, I think I ignored them for like a few days, but when I first picked them up, it's insane how much potential is there and how less you have to pay to get into it. Like, if you imagine a character with Tomo's mobility options in another fighting game, they'd probably be barred behind some sort of like really insane debuff. Like, the closest I could imagine is it'd be like Chip Zaneth, where you're like an absolute pixie, and if you get touched once, you fall like wet toilet paper. But I mean, Tomo doesn't really have that, and I think that's cool because the most important thing I feel when it comes to this sort of discussion with skill floors and skill ceilings is not how high the skill floor is or how low the skill ceiling is, it's the ratio. The point of a skill floor and a skill ceiling, and like the difference between them, is supposed to be how much you have to get in, like how much you have to know before getting into a character, and the theoretical limit of you knowing that character. the ratio between those two is important because what's between there is player growth. If you have a character that has a high skill ceiling and a low skill floor, you have tons of room for growth. And that room for growth shrinks with like a higher skill floor or lower skill ceiling. Tomo feels like it's a perfect blend of that ratio. I know Fungi has been pushing out some hot fixes recently because competitively some things did need to be changed. I will at least agree to that. Nair was pretty strong, but I think some things can't be changed because that's just how Tomo is conceptually. Like, I think people complaining about big disjoints in a small character is less complaining about like something that can be fixed and more just complaining about Tomo's existence rather. But like all the things I found on like the first 2 days I played Tomo, I made a whole video about it. There's so much like intricacy to Tomo's movement tech that I feel is like barely utilized, and people are still like going through it to where like if you picked up Tomo right now, you would still do feasibly well with them and still have like so much room to grow. And I think like there needs to be more characters like that, I personally feel. Because like if you're like Zetta or mine's friends where, you know, you're getting into workshop and you're not like super familiar with workshop content or anything like that, or you're like me and Ducky and come from like a traditional fighting background where, you know, platform fighters aren't really your thing, having a character that like still promotes all of the heavy movement of platform fighters and has like a relatively low barrier to entry is nice because that leads you to like gateway to other characters.
Yeah, this is reminding me of something that kind of happened when, if you remember RCS, there was this big debate that happened around there of, are workshop characters too weak compared to the base cast? And one of the points that was brought up that I think is relevant to this discussion is the idea that workshop doesn't necessarily have a lot of suboptimal options, that a lot of characters, once you understand them, there's not as many, like you basically have to understand them to play them well. And then once you're past that, there's not really much else you can do. Whereas a character like Tomo, you can definitely win with the character if you've just picked them up, but you can also figure out even more creative and unique ways to play even better.
This was another thing I touched on, believe it or not, which was, I've discovered that when it comes to like character rosters, like people who want to focus on a game's competitive background would create a roster of characters very differently than how like actual game developers would do it. Because a lot of the time, people seem to forget about the fact that like when fighting games were first created, there wasn't really like a plan for them for like the characters you play had to be in tourney. Like their plan was just for you to have fun and put quarters into it. That was kind of like it. There wasn't like grandiose majors league Capcom was thinking about when they made Street Fighter 2. They just wanted you to give them money. And that led to Jank. That led to us like actually having a combo system and dizzy mechanics. And now here we are 20 some odd years down the line, and now Capcom's still making things and people are throwing hands about their balance decisions. I think it's important that like there are options that are strong and there are options that are not. There are options that are, like you say, you know, suboptimal, where you don't have to be playing at a character mastery level of precision to do well, but also things that require you to play at that level of precision to do well.
Yeah.
I do agree. Tomo in general is like, I love their design. We're gonna talk about the character now. It's just like, I love their design. I find them really adorable, and what hides underneath them is fucking very lethal. They can move really fast, and I love their box mechanics so much.
Yeah, I think
And
I think
Sorry.
box is like the closest we've come on Workshop to replicating a base cast mechanic, like as close as we could to actual code. As far as my memory serves me.
I agree, and also with Tomo just being able to move around with the box and using their up special for more than recovery opens up so much potential with the character. And with the needle, their range and their aerials, they're great. They feel so great to play with. I wish could be better with them because I did try to compete with them in Blueberry Bout for once, and I got wrecked by Sawtooth. Yo, shout out to Sawtooth and Blueberry Bout and the tournament itself.
Yeah, shout outs to Blueberry Bout. I'm gonna throw out like a California surfer phone sign out and say shout outs to BB. It's a great tourney.
Tomo themselves are really fun to play with. I didn't feel any anger or like felt any salt when I lost with them. I just had like a great time playing, and I feel like that's important for characters, like having that small like skill floor and having the highest skill ceiling.
Yeah,
I
like,
feel there's so much.
As much as it would be like it'd be a really bland roster in reality if every character followed that principle, but with how it seems like so far there's the inverse happening with a lot of workshop characters. I think it's like now is when we need to start ushering in this like low skill floor, high skill ceiling era of characters for a bit and kind of like get things a bit more balanced out, because like it's impossible to fully balance a workshop roster, but giving people more options is better than not. I think go ahead, sorry, I was taking a swig.
I was gonna say, I think that some of it is like, with how many characters there are, there's a little bit less of people feeling like there's a demand for that. Because if you have a roster and there's only 12 or 16 characters, it's like, it's important that anyone can pick up this character and play them in a multitude of ways. But the fact that there are so many characters already, people are now more inclined to make characters that interest their very specific playstyle.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's, something that's common a lot. Ducky, didn't you make a lot of Kjort and Ducky's mechanics based off of traditional fighters?
Yes, I have, but like I don't think like I could really, apply that to what we're talking about with Tomo, because I don't really see much traditional
Not
fighters.
necessarily like in that, and what was Zetta was saying, where people make things that suit their own like niche playstyles more.
Yeah, I do feel like with workshop characters, that we should be focusing, like, I think a lot of people get too focused around like the competitive side of fighters, so they fit like one niche playstyle rather than, as you guys said, having a multitude of ways of playing them, and just having Tomo be good even without knowing like how to use the needle to its full potential, because you actually did show me some tech with Tomo that I didn't know about, where you can just like bounce around and keep them moving. I was like, dude, that's insane. I was already having fun with just playing them as is, with just like throwing a box there and there, here and there, and just like maybe pulling myself with the needle, but wave bouncing with it or platform bouncing is crazy.
You could definitely see it. Like if I was to show footage of me playing Tomo against someone like Dragon playing Tomo, you see like two different things. Like I am a needle sniper when I play Tomo. I can hit like these crazy offstage needle shots to get back. But if you saw like Dragon playing them, they play Tomo like a patient sortie. And it's like, I think that's characters that like allow for that to happen, where like you can have people play characters in different ways is important. And it's something like even traditional fighting game players like want back desperately. With how like reduced the skill gap is becoming in modern fighting games, a lot of top level traditional fighting game players feel like there's no character expression anymore. Like everyone who plays one character is like basically the same. There's nothing like Sacco combos from Ultra Street Fighter 4, a thing I talked about once, where Sacco was this lab monster who could hit one-framed links that only he could do. He was like this human task when it came to comboing in Ultra Street Fighter 4. And if you went up against Sacco, you'd have to go against these crazy one-frame links, and that was his Evil Ryu. No one else played Evil Ryu like him. And like design that allows for that, I think, is a lot better than just having, characters that define your identity.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Now,
I think
go ahead.
I think another thing with it, just while we're talking about just the benefits of this, is just that it also promotes character longevity. That it's like, I feel like we're gonna still be seeing Tomo players like a year from now, that are still like new people come to the game and pick up the character, because there's just so much you can do with the character. Whereas some people might just feel like the meta is solved, or it only fits some people's playstyle, that they might not be interested in playing another character who already has a solved meta.
Right. I definitely think longevity is something that a lot of people think about. I think it also ties into how a lot of people are like scared to buff characters. I think like, you know, obviously there's the work that goes into coding things to change, but I mean, in theory, like you hold the same creative power as like a team of playtesters does for like an actual traditional fighting game when it comes to like how to change characters. And like if you make them over the top, you can still like restore that version's file to a previous version. If it goes too far, you can, you know, if you need a median in those changes, you can take the median in those changes and revert it back. And if people like the changes, you keep them. If not, you can always just revert them. Like, with how we have like the power to like change our own stuff and not beg a company to do it, it seems like it should be a lot easier for, pardon me for a sec, it seems like it should be a lot easier for people to make characters that are stronger at launch and then just slowly work them down instead of having something that's harder to work with at launch and work them up.
Dude, all I'm saying, for all the workshop creators out there afraid of making like a character overpowered, dude, just shoot him up in the air, man. Make him top tier as much as possible. They're like, recently, like with, shout out to Infinite Spirit, with Cardinal, they buffed him a little bit too much by adding like jump cancel on a special on hit, and dude, that shit opened up so much routes, and it was so fun to play against it, or to play with. I just recommend everyone to just overshoot their character. Just don't be afraid of buffing, over buffing, or like buffing your character in general.
That's what I agree with.
Yeah, I think I can say this too, because as someone who hangs out with a lot of TOs, I know a lot of people, their fear of buffing characters is like, oh, if I buff my character too much, they'll never be legal ever. And a lot of times, the thing with TOs is it's less about, is your character broken at launch or not? It's more about, are you willing to listen to feedback? Are you willing to take things into account? And ideally, just making a character crazy as long as, well, within reason, as long as your character is still cohesive and still, feels fun to fight against, even if they're overtuned, it's much easier to work with and make something enjoyable from that, and still get them legal.
Right, I think Funky is another example to look at with that, because pre-patch, pre-nerf neutral air used to do 14%, if I remember correctly, off of both hits.
Oh no.
And that was one of the things that got asked to change, and sure enough, Funky changed it. It does a lot less now than what it did, and that was like one of the things I remember hearing where like people didn't like fighting against Tomo because Nier did so much damage, and they changed it, and now it's not as bad, and Tomo's still fun. Like, Funky did not compromise Tomo's design or anything like that with reducing and special or neutral air's damage. Tomo's still the same. You could still play, me and Dragon could still play Tomo the same as we have pre-neutral air nerf, and nothing would change. I think like if there's any content creator I could shell out to look at for how to balance, Fungi is definitely one of them. Speaking of Fungi, this acts as a great transition to the next one. Callie. I did not actually expect this to happen. Now, in my notes, all I have for Callie is Grappler! Woo! Yeah! Because
I think we do need more grapplers and rivals. It would be a nice change.
As the head of the Glue Eater Association called the Grappler Project, definitely seeing a lot more of this come in is definitely cause for me to pop open a bottle of Chardonnay and have some nice Elmer glue shots with the buds.
Dude, character, Callie, when I saw them at first, I thought they were gonna be like really sluggish, because for me, I don't really like playing grappler characters in rifles, but Callie has made me change my mind, dude. It's so fun to just have the option to just either spike your opponent or make them floatier. There were so many fun ways that they did to work around multi-directional throws, using down special and letting you change between 4 directions, either the candy, the balloon, or the roses. Was a great way to solve the problem where it's like, oh, I got grabbed, now I don't know where I'm gonna go. But if you keep track of what your opponent has in their inventory, then it's gonna be easier for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say I'm huge in traditional fighters. I'm a huge grappler player. I love playing grapplers. That's never really transferred over to platform fighters until Cali. And I think some of it is just that in a platform fighter, you have so much more movement. So having a character who's slow and can't really move around hurts even more. And also, the amount of gain you get off of a grab isn't as much in a platform fighter. And I really think the fact that Cali has the ability to get all of these massive like upgrades that just basically they change the entire flow of the battle, really makes it worthwhile to get the hearts and then do a max level grab.
God, Zetta, you say that. Why have we not talked sooner? You would fit right in with TGP. Why have you not talked sooner? Like I literally had a discussion with like Regina and everyone else that's in TGP. Like, all right, we're making a grappler for Rivals. This is what we're doing. And it's like you just like went back in time, heard that speech, came back in time, and then just recited it right now. I can't like add anything to that because I've always agreed to that like 100%. Like the reason grappler characters aren't popular in Rivals and other platform fighters is because the core mechanic of playing a grappler is the mix-up game once you get a hard knockdown of, do I have to jump, do I have to block an attack, or am I going to have to stuff at their command grab? It's a rock, paper, scissors that doesn't transition well to a game style that's so focused on movement and doesn't have anything like a hard knockdown. Like even fast rising in Street Fighter V and Street Fighter IV isn't as fast as getting a proper Tekken rolling in Rivals or Smash, and so it makes grappler archetype characters super harder to implement.
And like solving the problem where it's just like, yeah, Cali's just gonna put Candy down, put you down on the floor. It's like, okay, you can't roll, you can't attack.
It forces that rock paper scissors situation.
Exactly, and they implemented it very well. And just like having like, even setting you up in a balloon is fun. It like has counterplay to it, where it's like, okay, I may be floating here for 10 seconds. Maybe I can just move myself out of the way.
Right, I think it's also super cool how like a lot of Cali's design also kind of like flies in the face of traditional grappler archetype. Like for starters, she's a heavyweight, but she's not super slow, and she doesn't have an absolutely terrible recovery.
Yes, they're very good.
Not only is up special Shoryu a kill move, but it's not a horrible recovery move either. And so it's like the biggest stigma about trying to play like a grappler and a platform fighter is just gone with that. Like you don't even have to worry about, getting sent off stage and it's, oh god, I've been sent off stage, I'm gonna die off this if I can't read it correctly. No, now you have like a feasible chance to make it back on stage and still continue your glue-eating monstrosity. I also am a big fan of Neutral Special.
Neutral Special is Flash, isn't it?
It's a camera flash. I like it so much because of, like I said, it flies in the face of traditional grappler archetyping. Because, like, usually, really good grapplers, you'll find out, like, a lot of people think the best grapplers are ones that just, like, auto-lose to zoning, because that's, like, the rock, paper, scissors thing. Rushdown beats zoning, zoning beats grapplers, grapplers beat rushdown. Like, that's supposed to be, like, the rock, paper, scissors effect, but, I mean, when you go and start looking into actual traditional fighters, you'll see a lot of them are actually really good at combating zoning. Like, Zangief has his green hand that can bat away projectiles. Waldstein has the pain train where you can just go full screen. Tager applies magnesis, so you can't zone. He brings you to him. And, hell, I talk about Shizuo from Dengeki, but, I think Dengeki's a whole nother topic. We'll get to that. We'll get to that one later.
Anything else about the character? I do feel like the animations are great for the character. There's a lot of
the sound effects are crunchy.
Even then, they feel so good to hit, especially strongs, bro. They are, I think, the literal definition of a strong.
She's not here to date you. She's here to beat the shit out of you.
That's a great point, but talking about dating other characters, there's this website I found recently that adds compatibility to your characters.
Oh man, do you know who made that?
Oh wow.
I don't know. They go by the name. And the website is And the website is mcducky.github.io/dategirl if you want to add compatibility to your character. Super
Very
easy.
peculiar you mentioned that. Very peculiar. I think Callie is Callie is another good example of what I talked about with Tomo's philosophy that I think Fungi does super well, of characters where it doesn't take that much to play them starting out, but when you go and play them, you have so much room to grow, and you don't have to, like, no two Callies are gonna fight exactly the same.
Oh no. There's a lot of ways to express yourself as with Callie and with
There's so
Tomo in
much
general.
potential.
I just think like Fungi is gonna be like, or Fungi is gonna be one of the next top workshop creators. To be honest, they're great at what they do.
Definitely. I also like how, what you were saying with the down special, not only how it, like, whatever item you have determines the direction of the grab, but also, like, the ribbon also is a unique mechanic because it's like a semi-wrap. And it, like, that's super, you'd think that's super strange to have in a grappler, but, like, considering how movement... Oh god, that went down my windpipe. Considering how movement heavy a game like Rivals is, having something that, like, keeps you tethered as a grappler is actually, like, a really, really good idea on paper. And people don't want to do stuff like that because it seems scary, like, oh god, this might be busted.
Bro, it is a horror game. If you get grabbed by Callie and you get tethered back into her, I don't know how you do, dude. My composure broken.
But I
once
mean,
get
that's
hit by
kind of
ribbon.
like the archetype of, like, the emotion grapplers are supposed to instill is fear.
Oh yeah, and they... Dude, I feel like we can write a book.
If
on
I can
Callie.
write a book on Tomo, you can write a book on Callie. Alright, so, moving right along here, this is another character I'm really close with. So, Regina Reforged recently, I've, like, got into communication with them afterwards, and they agreed to join TGP because of how much they were into grapplers, and because of that, and me getting to them, I got to be one of the beta testers for Anglara before she got put out publicly. And, good lord, I have a little bit to unpack here. So, Regina's purpose when she made Anglara was to focus on a Fundies character, which I think, you know, considering, like, the past two characters we've talked about have been low skill floor, high skill ceiling, you know, is very good. It's very good to have a character that's focused on fundamentals. We don't have too much of those anymore. I think only off the top of my head, the only character I can think of that is, like, specifically been denoted as a Fundies character is Acid Rainbows.
I agree with that.
And that
yeah.
was, like, a long ass
Acid
time ago,
Rainbows.
like Genesis 6.
Phew, man, how long has Workshop been running for? I thought it was.
Was it
Genesis
not
7.
Genesis 6? I thought it was Genesis 6.
It was, I think it
I
was
might
Genesis
just have my
7,
dates wrong.
But
Yeah, because everyone has like a Genesis 7 skin when they were legacy characters, I guess, of the Workshop.
But yeah, no, I think, for starters, just to go into some of the things that got changed, Anglara used to be busted. Busted as hell. Like, not even good busted. Downstrong used to have flinch property. What I discovered you could do was if you did Downstrong against your opponent, you essentially got whatever you wanted afterwards for free. It was entirely possible to do Downstrong into barrier, and they couldn't do anything about it. They'd either have to eat the barrier hit or, like, mash parry after the flinch timer wore out. And Barrier 2 on launch was incredibly broken. Like, it did like 2 little knockback and sent at such a weird angle, like it bullied big body characters, and you essentially got 2 hits for free and a combo into whatever area you want.
Man, I always wanted to play Yuri and Rivals, man.
Even like after the barrier changes and the adding of barrier cancel that Regina did, I still think Anglara is still like a very fun, good character. A lot of her aerials, I told Regina this, her aerials feel like DK aerials.
I was gonna say, I wouldn't say DK, but it felt like Captain Falcon, cause to me, if it feels like Captain Falcon, I think that they did make a great like Fundies characters. I didn't even know that was the reason why they made Anglara in the first place. And with Captain Falcon, their aerials are just straightforward. Like someone can just pick it up, and I feel like we're going back to this point really like a lot, where a character's easy to pick up.
Because that's important.
But
it's very important, especially especially since you play more than you do make characters. It's definitely important, like when you're playing in tourney and stuff, to have characters that, you know, are not super complicated to pick up, but have like a good chance for you to grow.
Yeah, and Anglera is a great character to begin with, especially for workshop characters, because all their moves just kind of chain together, and it's a great
And
feeling.
also, Anglera can kill. Another big note to hit on. Good lord, I made sure that when Regina was doing the pre-release tests, I clasped my hands and I pleaded, please don't take away her kill power besides down strong. Please don't. It's so good. And then like 2 weeks afterwards, she comes back into the TGP server with, oh yeah, by the way, Lucaru helped me add barrier canceling. And now you can cancel like forward special into up special if you collide with a barrier. Oh my god. It's just outrageous.
Dude, you know that
Yeah,
shit
and
kills?
it kills!
It's
It's
like a great-
amazing!
Yeah.
It's like she took the skill ceiling and just like raised it a bit and kept the skill floor like perfectly the same.
Bro, there's a lot of mix-ups you can do, because with barrier cancels, if you go past your opponent, you can mix them up either by doing it in the right direction or the left direction for up special. And up special is like great kill move
Yeah,
horizontally.
it's so good. I'm so happy she kept it.
Are there any points you would like to add on?
Yeah, we kinda spearheaded
I mean,
this one.
You're hitting a lot of the points I was gonna make about this character. I absolutely fell in love with the character as soon as I picked her up. I would consider at least pocketing her in the future. I do like that the barrier it feels like a very natural inclusion to the kit. At first it seems kind of weird because you think it's a reflector, but no, not really. But the thing with it is just all of the stuff that it synergizes with, like even the projectile can go through it and then it fires at a slower angle and sends inward.
Man, I remember when barrier canceled end special with Anglera killed Tomo at 70. If you didn't
No.
tech it essentially killed Tomo at 70. It was so funny. I don't have that clip, unfortunately, but God, it was great.
That and Anglara's colors are just absolutely godlike. Like some of the best colors in
You know,
Workshop.
she recently got a Urian skid added.
I thought that wasn't that in since
I'm
launch?
pretty sure that was in release on Blueprints.
Was
was
it?
shown.
We got-
I thought
Yeah, we got Rikuo recently from
that might be what I'm
Darkstalkers.
thinking of, because I remember she posted the CSS compilation, and I saw Urian there, and I thought she didn't have that on release. No, I think we're all
she
pretty
did.
integrated. I think she's great. Like a lot so far. Like Chess Piece has been like a good example of like, you know, that intermediate level of play that some people are after. And like the past three characters, Tomo, Callie, and Gloria, are like been great examples of characters that people can like pick up and play, and not like need to spend hundreds of hours in the lab just to get like a slight marginal edge with, only to lose to like another character.
Like, I feel like you can start off with them as like 3 character archetypes that you can study with, like a grappler, and then you have Tomo as a rush, like a pure fast rush down character, and then Anglera is just a balanced all-rounder. Those 3 characters are great to start off with. I agree, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, definitely the points I've always wanted to try to hit on is the fact that like a lot of people, when they want to make something, they either try to find something else that's similar on the workshop, or just go to Smash like Ultra Melee and then just take a mechanic. Like there's not like further study, you know, into why that mechanic works or anything like that. They just kind of like just take it and run with it and just hope people like it. And I think like I've made this a point before. I feel like that's kind of a problem, where like there's not an encouragement of deeper study into the mechanics, and instead just kind of like, oh, I want to put Yoshi double jump canceling into Rivals because I like Yoshi double jump canceling from Melee, and there's no like examination like beforehand, like, well, would this work? You know, like, why do I find Yoshi double jumping fun? You know, like, why would someone else not like there's no further divulsion into that. It's kind of just like, I want to put this in. That's how they did it in Melee. We'll put it in.
I agree with that. To be
And
honest.
especially like when you're trying to port over original ideas, then it's like even more important you go out and like study things that are similar. Like, there's not going to... Oh. Uh-oh. That's not good. Hey, welcome back.
That is my bad. My apologies. Discord just crashed on me. Discord's
held together with pins and needles. It's alright.
We've been eating too much of the glue.
As soon as Callie came out, man, there's been a glue shortage. I can't find any glue. It's hard being it's hard being a Crag player when there's no glue to eat. It's hard being a Crag player when there's no glue to eat. But as I was saying, like, a lot of people, like, if you're making an original idea, it's like even more important you like studying why that idea works and etc. Because like if you don't, it kind of like falls flat and you get like a lot of workshop right now, I feel like.
And you know, I feel like I need to have you check on my characters a little bit and help me figure it out.
Ducky, if we ever make a collab character, I promise you it will hit. I promise you.
Bro, my characters hit, but not in the competitive side.
I mean, I'll be down to look at them sometime. You just have to give me a bit.
Anything else we need to touch?
I think I covered everything I wanted to cover with Anglara. Speaking of TGP, I'll go ahead and go down the list because we got another TGP member on this list. Shoutouts to Open Gunner, by the way. This dude is fucking crazy. I first met him in like the beginning of January for like a Rivals free-for-all friendlies, and then like he told me about the character he was working on. I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. And then like fast forward, like it's February 15th, and he actually got it out. The fucking madman.
Dude, people can be fast with these characters,
man.
I don't understand.
Move, but Clockworth was definitely something I wanted to talk about because I really like their design, like visually. Like, come on, dude, it's an owl version of Alfred from fucking Batman with a shotgun and a C4. Like, how am I not supposed to like
dude,
this?
Their design is super fucking cool. I like it.
And it's also like I get to use a shotgun on a character that isn't King Briggs. Like, I'm from like Appalachia, dude. Like, you don't understand. Having a shotgun is like one of the most powerful feelings in the world.
I agree, dude. If someone can if someone can replicate the function of a shotgun very well,
it's powerful.
That hitting it is gonna be so satisfying.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about it because mainly there's a lot of stuff I think in Clockworth that hits, and there's like an equal amount of stuff that kind of doesn't. Like I could kind of think of like for every point here that I'm talking about with Clockwork, I could think of like something else that doesn't quite work. Like for example, I love the shotgun. The shotgun's super cool. What I don't like is Fort Air and how it just misses. Fort Air has some very questionable bits in it. I can understand the purpose of not making it like do off of short hop, because I mean like there are a lot of characters who don't have like short like aerials that are fast enough to be hit on short hop. It's not even hitting it on short hop, it'll just straight up miss.
Well, like we can tell like most a lot of workshop characters, they're not gonna be perfect at the start, right? They're gonna be improved over time, and I feel like they have the potential for that. Man, like the characters themselves are very cool.
Zetta, what do you want to throw into this?
Clockworth, I do like. They're a character that, like you said, I have a lot of mixed feelings on. The main things with them is like you said, the shotgun is really cool. My worry is I'm not sure how I feel about the cohesion with the rest of the kit. Like, the fact that you can throw the briefcase into the air and shoot it with the shotgun is really cool, but the fact that you have to manually aim to shoot the briefcase and there's not like an instant way to do it kind of bogs it down and makes it less practical than it really would be.
Yeah, it also kind of like is an inversion of like, you know, kind of like the gameplay symbology that like using a shotgun would present, because like, you know, when you use a shotgun in like a first-person shooter or something, like the big thing you're incentivized to do is to get up close so you can pump in all your meat shots. Like precision aiming isn't something that really comes to mind, even though you need to actually be super precise with shotguns in real life. Like if you were to like show me a picture of like, you know, standard army man holding a shotgun and say this is the class you're playing as in this funny war simulator, I'm going to assume my goal is to get up close, pump them full of lead, and then get out. And like not you know, like standing still and like precisely aiming comes to mind. That comes to mind more with like different types of weaponry. Yeah, like different types of weaponry and symbolism. Like
I feel like the character would fit well with a heavy like handgun, like a
Yeah, I think
Desert
if
or
it was a
something, if you wanna
deagle,
go for
maybe.
precision shooting.
Oh god, Ducky, did you ever play Marvel Infinite? Okay, you
No,
played
I
Marvel
didn't.
3, which is
Oh,
fine
no.
enough. You know Chris Redfield's deagle? Yeah, the
You
revolver.
mean the revolver? Yeah, that shit feels nice.
Yeah, I think it would be better if it was something like that. But when I talked to Open about it, like I sent him some feedback I wanted for Clockwork because I felt they were really cool. And when I sent to Open about it, oh god, I can't remember exactly without pulling it up, and I don't want to say anything. I don't want to like get something wrong and have him be upset at me for this. I felt like there was a lot more shotgun could interact with. Like,
Yes,
like
I
even
do
when I
agree.
like came up close and hit like all of my meat shots, it didn't like feel like I just hit my meat shot. It just felt like all of these pellets hit as a projectile. It didn't feel like I shot you with a shotgun. It could have been like the same thing if you know, if like I just rapid tapped like a pistol fire. It would still have like achieved the same purpose. It just wouldn't have the iconography of you know, a shotgun. I think Open, if you ever hear this, I think if you want to like a good example of that, Geno's aerials are essentially just mini shotguns.
Gino hits like a fucking truck, bro.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're
dude, like,
talking about.
the aerials are just like mini shotguns. Like all that's missing is just the multiple pellets. Outside of that, I think that would be like something good to look at as inspiration. Also, I actually didn't know you could throw a briefcase and shoot it with a shotgun. I didn't even know you could aim shotgun.
Yeah, if you hold it with a neutral special, then you gain the ability to aim it, but it does clash with
Right,
how
yeah.
they're designed.
I wouldn't have even like have
as
thought
a
to have done that.
character.
Like if I was you know, if I was like picking up the character again for the first time and playing it, you would find me shocked to hear that like if I hold down the button, I can stand still and aim with a shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
it kind of conflicts.
kinda. But I mean, I guess the other thing is like, I don't think it's as weird because the aesthetic of the character is like, they have almost like a time aesthetic to them. So it's like, it doesn't necessarily seem too off to have, even though it's a shotgun, have this character who's got this time motif to have a way of kind of both attacking really quickly and taking time to think
Right,
about
it just seems
things.
weird. Like it would I'll say this: it'll be even weirder if it was a pump shotgun, or less weirder if it was a pump
Yeah.
shotgun. It's a double-barreled shotgun. Like that's kind of symbolically like burned into my mind of, all right, we're gonna go in, pop 2 pops of lead, and then get out.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah. The other thing
Go
you the other thing you brought up there is the idea of get in, get out. And I feel like forward strong does that perfectly, but forward special and up special feel like they should be used in that way, but they feel sluggish.
That was another point I was gonna bring up with Clockwork, is that I feel like a lot of their kit just feels sluggish in movement-wise. I don't know if it's because I'm not familiar with the character, but them having a time mechanic, especially with the briefcase and that team of them, it's just like, man, if I use any of the specials, I feel like I'm gonna lose time here.
I remember that was something I did remember I brought up with Open, was about Fort Special. Because I think like right now it's very strange because it's the only way to reload the shotgun. And
You can use taunt as well.
really? I wouldn't have known to do.
Yeah, taunt is reload in place.
I was going to say, like, it feels super weird, like, Fort Special as a move. Because
Mhm.
from what I understand, like, the shotgun mechanic takes inspiration from, like, every other, I guess, like, bullet management character I could think of in traditional fighters. Like, Eltnum, Naruto, like, Chris Redfield in Marvel Infinite, because they gave his revolver, like, a capacity limit in there. Like, characters that are like that, you know, you don't really think about moving and reloading without spending a resource. And while, like, yeah, roll gets put on a cooldown, roll also has you, like, just using it like a normal roll. Like, you still have the same intangibility and whatnot. And it comes out so slow, it's really hard to use it, like, as a mix-up for recovery with, like, doing roll into up special. It comes out super slow that I would just, like, usually be better off just doing, like, normal up special instead.
I feel like you, for Fort Special, some of the uses I did find while researching the characters, that you can use it as a mix-up for your regular air dodge in the air, because I don't think it uses it, does it?
believe so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so you can use it as a mix-up in the air, if I recall, and just do air dodge afterwards. So you have like 2 times like the chances, but you have to have a hard read to use sport special. What do you call this? In an optimized way.
I agree.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just feels weird.
Definitely. I definitely think like it feels a bit weird because it's not exactly like doing a normal roll. Like it has slower startup and more end lag than like a normal roll. And you know, now that I know that I can like just reload by pressing taunt, it's like, why would I ever stand in place to reload? Like usually like moving and reloading your resources with like Naruto and Helpnum, it's like stuff like that would come at the cost of like a resource, and like just a cooldown, you know, like isn't akin to like a burning meter. You know what I'm talking about, Ducky?
Yeah.
Like if they gave Naruto something like a dodge roll and then just also reload a revolver, and it didn't cost meter, it just put like your other reloads in cooldown, I would never ever use any other reload. Not only do I not give up screen control, I also get to refresh my resources, and that kind of feels the same with Clockwork with Fort Special, where you don't have to give up your screen control, and you also get to refill your neutral special, which, you know, it would be incredibly strong if neutral special itself wasn't like, how should I say this? It's not as optimal as I thought it would be. Like, it doesn't function as much as a shotgun as I think I would, and it's instead just like numerous pellets.
Yeah.
Anything else to add on to this character?
I think
I've gone over my
I think I've gone over everything I wanted to talk about too. Zetta, is there anything you wanted to pull forth?
I mean, I don't know. I think we hit all of the big points. Just that they do have some really cool concepts, and I feel like if they were made a little faster and a couple of the ideas were worked on just a tad, they could be really, really cool. They're not really in a, I wouldn't even call them in like a terrible spot. It's just there's a couple of moves that need to be looked at, and then you've got a contender for one of the better characters on Workshop.
Yeah, no, that's what I told Open, was that like it's just like a few things that would need to be changed for like Clockwork to be like better game feel wise. And I mean, of course, it's totally up to him if he wants to do it.
Of course, we're not gonna be like,
Saying,
you know, the main heads that decide, oh, you know, your character's
Right,
valid
yeah.
or not. Everyone has their own place in Workshop. These are just more like first
Right.
impressions.
First impressions a month later, I kind of didn't get off my ass about this.
Yeah, but then it puts us in a fair.
It gives us
like,
better
fair
retrospective,
playing
I can
field,
say
you know?
that. Especially since, like, there are weekly bracket tournaments or not. Speaking of weekly bracket tournaments, oh boy, that gives me a great transition. Say, folks, how do you feel about baseball?
Oh no.
Ah, yes. Ah, yeah.
Oh no.
It's that time of the week, folks. It's that time of the week. Sai cranked out 5 whole characters for Blueprints, and had to pick one. I had to pick one, so I picked with the one that apparently is like exploded across brackets. Let's talk about Bat, my fellas. Let's get down into it. So, I think the first thing I wanted to say is I will always be disappointed in baseball characters that are not Junpei Iori from Persona 4 Arena Ultimax. I will always be disappointed that I can't get that replicated anywhere else. But that's just me. I'm a big fan of baseball and Junpei's mechanic. I think like when I fell in love with fighting games was when I played Persona 4 Arena Ultimax and started playing Junpei. And it pains me every time that baseball mechanics aren't looked at the same way. And it's always just like Lethal League. By the way, shoutouts to Slap, Candyman's cool. Like it pains me a little bit that like the de facto for baseball mechanics is a ball go there, we hit, and not like anything else. But that's just me. Let's actually talk about the character. So,
when you were saying baseball, you know, when I think of baseball, I personally, for me, I don't like watching baseball. I prefer to play it instead. I think it's more fun that way. But man, when I watch Bat, it's an opposite like reaction for me. I enjoy watching this character. It's, I think one of the coolest designs that Sai has put out recently.
Yeah, for sure. Bat is absolutely like a spectacle to watch. There's so much going on that just looks amazing. The dramatic kills is just such a neat touch.
Dude, custom galaxies? Holy fuck, dude.
Not even that, but like just hitting someone with an up strong and it galaxies and they just do a loop off the screen is the sickest thing ever, and it never gets old.
I agree. Holy, yo, shout out to Sai for like putting in the effort to do that.
I think it's I think it's pretty cool. I think like the first time I saw them like outside of Blueprints, I was commentating like a blueberry bout that was happening that week. And what was it I said? I can't remember what I said. It was really funny. Oh yeah, whenever someone got over like 100%, I said they were at the funny number. Because that's like the bare minimum percent for most like middleweight characters and above to be like galaxied by Bat Strong.
Yeah. But speaking of getting galaxied at 100, I think the one thing with Bat is the character feels very strong, and in some ways I'm not sure it's a good
definitely,
thing.
I've had very long and arduous friendly sessions. Like, if you ever ask me to play friendlies, I hope you don't have anything to do for like the next upwards of 2 hours. I go for super long friendly sessions, and I think one of the friendly sessions I played was against someone who wanted to try out Bat, and like as I started playing with them, it became more and more apparent of how like strong they were and like how much I didn't realize it for. Like, Forward Special is a really good move. It's fast, it can stun, it amplifies your balls, and it also takes up like a good amount of like horizontal and vertical space.
Yeah. I feel like, and I know this is kind of weird because we were just talking about like keeping the identity of a character and not really doing that. But if there's one thing that I would want to just be removed from Bat, it's Sage mode.
6 paths?
Because like you said with Forward Special, the idea is that it upgrades the ball you currently have. And Neutral Special, the idea is the longer you charge it, the more the ball gets upgraded. But the fact that Bat has such an easily accessible resource that instantly upgrades all of your balls for the next 5 hits is like, it completely negates that entire mechanic and makes it feel less important to the character than it should be.
You know what I find really like strange about that, thinking about it, is that like a lot of other side characters with their mechanics have like them get removed on hit as a punishment. Like what comes to the top of my head is ASE. Your 3rd hit or 4th hit in a row will be amplified if you can land 3 other hits beforehand. But if you get hit, you get that taken away. Like, yeah. I don't know why there wouldn't, like, I'm probably spitting out my ass here, but something like if you're in Sage mode and you get hit, one of your balls gets, like, de-upgraded. Like,
that could be
what I like
interesting.
about Sai's philosophy is how much they reward aggression. Like, how much you get rewarded, like, just for playing your character, and also, like, the fact they look cool as shit.
Man,
like,
yeah. I think Sai has the coolest character.
But, like, what always holds me back is it's, like, there seems to be, like, not much, like, as much detail placed elsewhere. Like, again, as we're talking, like, Bat's sick as shit to watch, like, we can all agree on that, but, like, when you get down to it, and, like, you start playing it, you start, like, noticing things that's like, this should be changed, this shouldn't be that should be weaker, etc. And like Sage mode, where like you should be punished for getting hit in your super state, where like other side characters, I think, like, you know, Ace and I think Mayu, no, it's not Mayu, I think it's another character I'm thinking of, where you can hold a clone in place, like you get punished for being hit there as well. I think like also with Saji.
Yeah, I
just remembered that.
Yeah. I think the difference with a lot of these characters too is when you're talking about aggression with them, most of Sai's characters that really get huge rewards from aggression besides Bat are rushdowns. Bat is a zoner, and the fact that you can just get so much resources off of just throwing things at your opponent is kind of crazy.
I can't think of too many like zoners with like the exact same idea that Bat has, but I can think of a few that like have the same principles of like upgrading your resources. And yeah, I can agree, like the rate at which you can upgrade your balls as Bat is incredibly fast with how powerful like the balls themselves are as projectiles.
Yeah,
sorry.
It's like if Jacko in Guilty Gear had a random thing that she could do where it's just instantly, and I know she has a way to speed up, which could be the solution, But it's like if Jacko had a way of just instantly, anytime she throws a hut down, it's already max upgraded, ready to go.
And I mean, like, usually the counterbalance with traditional fighters is that, like, it costs much, like an actual resource that you have to work to get back, and not a cooldown. Like, I talked about this.
Yeah.
I talked about this in my first complexity video, where meters are cool because they limit powerful options. Like, if Sin Kisuke didn't have a meter and he could just do I'm gonna hit something eventually forever, you would never ever escape the corner, because I could just keep hitting heavy slash and you would never escape block stun. But because I have hunger to manage, and like actively choosing hunger instead of a mix-up, and I'm punished for not refueling my hunger, like that's I think something like we're trying to say want to be applicable here, where it's like it costs something more than just doing your job as Bat to get like upgraded balls like Sage Mode. And like when you're in Sage Mode, there needs to be like more punishment that comes like to Bat for not doing properly in Sage Mode. Because I think like a lot of size characters like Saji and ASA, like those types of characters, they feel super fun, and I feel fine playing against them most of the time. Like even those two, which I know a lot of people don't like to fight against, I feel fine fighting against them. Because I know like their mechanics I can remove on hit. Like as soon as I touch them, Saji doesn't have their teleport to me, and ASC doesn't have their amplified hit if I just touch them with something. But Bat, like even if I pummel the absolute shit out of her for like 15 minutes straight, and then finally get her off the blast zone, she can have a fully upgraded ball to recover with up special, and I can get punished for throwing her off stage and beating the shit out of her because she gets to keep Sage Mode.
Yeah, I think the gist of like what we were talking about with Tomo is like a low skill floor, a high skill ceiling. I feel like Bat is a very low skill floor, low skill ceiling character. That there's a lot of stuff you can do with the character, but the fact that you don't really have to think about how you can get your resources, and really the optimal play is just throw as much stuff on the screen as possible that your opponent has to deal with, makes the character feel less big brain than they really should be.
Oh my god, dude. Yo, that is a spicy take, and it lets me transition. All right, pardon me for going on for like a second here, but I really wanted to piggyback off this because I had a brain blast for just a second. Thinking about it from like, you know, where I guess us come from, because, you know, we play a lot of traditional fighters, like I can't think of many instances where there are characters like low skill floor, low skill ceiling that like don't have to choose for their resources, and characters that pollute the screen with shit that get to have like an amplified pollute the screen with shit. Hold on. Like when you say low skill floor, low skill ceiling, the first thing I think about is Order Soul from Accent Core Reloaded. Order Soul is a monkey, like an actual fucking orangutan disguised in holy robes. But I mean, what keeps Order Soul interesting, and what like keeps your brain actively engaged, is the fact of like you become better as you get meter. And again, like the cost is like, do I go for meter or do I go for this nice mix-up and lose out on potential damage? Like Order Soul's level 3 Gunflame is plus like fucking 40 something on block, but you have to get 3 bars of meter and choose to spend it. There's no thought process like that for a Bat. And going to like polluting the screen with shit, when I think of polluting the screen with shit, I think of outside of Teddy, I think of 2 people. I think of New 13 and I think of Whole Horse. New 13 and BB Tag specifically, because shout out to you, Vice, you won't play fucking CF with anymore, you goddamn coward.
No.
In BB Tag, New's buttons are just 2-3-6s, and her B button is this huge disjointed projectile, and she could just like pollute your approach with so many of these like weird angled swords and a gravity well that keeps you locked in place. But she doesn't have anything to amplify it. Like she doesn't have anything to like make her swords come out faster, gravity well keep you in for longer. She doesn't have anything like that. And going additionally, Whole Horse, as busted as Heritage for the Future is as a game, god I love it, Whole Horse doesn't have anything where he just gets to have like DP motion with Glass Okizeme. He doesn't have anything like that where Glass Okizeme becomes longer. Or he doesn't have anything where like Hangman becomes an actual unblockable. He doesn't have anything like that, because like when your whole game plan is to pollute the screen with shit, and like for polluting the screen with shit, you like just get to pollute the screen with shit better. It's as you described, it's low skill floor, low skill ceiling.
It's interesting because I will correct you on New for a second, because Blaze Blue is the perfect game when you're looking for characters who have way more stuff than they actually should have, New 13 does actually have a way in CF.
It's
I don't
not
think
in
it's in
tag.
tag.
I can tell you that. I know what you're talking about in
but
CF. I specifically mentioned tag because, like I said, he won't play CF with me anymore. He's a coward and a fraud.
But the thing with it in CF is that there's a powerful option that characters have called Overdrive, where they lose access to their burst, which is probably one of the most important tools that they have. So you're already giving up such a huge resource for the cost of having for a very short time the ability to do something else with your gimmick. So New gets extra swords everywhere and everything's powered up. But one, there's a timer on that, so you can't just hold on to your swords for when you think you need them best. And also, you actually have to give up a resource. Like, if Bat, which this could work, if Bat every time she rolled, a ball would just bounce off screen, that would make Sage Mode way more engaging and interesting, because now Bat has to play aggressively and avoid defensive options, or lose the benefit that she just gained.
How much of a CF are you playing, Zetta? Because I have this very funny analogy to give you.
I play quite
you
a
might
bit
know
of
this,
it.
McDucky. How much of CF have you played? I might hit you with this one instead.
Bro, I don't
All
know
right, so,
anime,
all right.
bro. I just wanted to talk
All right,
about
Ducky,
characters.
hear me out like this, all right? In the matchup between New 13 and Iron Tiger, who do you think wins? You're right.
Iron Tiger.
I play that matchup like constantly.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Bro, Magnet is fucking crazy.
I don't know. That just came to mind when you mentioned that always comes to mind with New 13 and CF is Tager and New 13 being a winning matchup for fucking Tager. I think that's also a pretty cool idea that you mentioned, where rolling would remove like a ball just randomly.
I was gonna say about Bat is what would help her stay balanced is, I guess, like having to pick up the balls rather than just having like an unlimited supply of them.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. There's something, I don't know exactly what it is. I'm trying to remember, but I know Junpei, my goated man's, has something with his out mechanic that's similar to that, where if you get hit 3 times, I think you lose a base, which is bad for Junpei. If you get hit 3 times, you lose a base, and you need to hit 3 or 4 bases to hit a run, and you need to hit 10 runs to enter Victory Rush. And so it's like, if you get hit, like, you know, which it's Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, you're gonna get hit a lot. If you get hit like 12 times, all of a sudden you're out of bases. But I think what's important also is that, like, you can't run out of runs, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think you can, and then you can just use it, but I do feel like Bat does need to have a way to slow her down rather than just having the tempo up all the time. Even if you like get advantage, you just still have to worry about, she has like a charged baseball, and then she can do she does have a mechanic where her specials get enhanced if you what do you call this? If she throws out a ball and she interacts it with up special, it gets like enhance and shoot down projectiles that can spike you. I didn't know that at first, and that was really scary to get hit off stage with it.
She can do that with down special too, and it's even scarier because that one is full screen.
Did you know the balls that come out of up special enhanced, not only does Bat not go into parry stone if you parry them, but you also don't reflect them?
Oh no.
So this is like some things that are well, I wouldn't say some things that are really strong with Bat. As cool as they are as a character, and with all the effects and stuff, I do feel she needs to be tuned down a little bit and have some good counterplay set up for them.
Alright, I agree.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would agree too. Like, even though you and I, Ducky, are from like the BB house rule of Rule 1, don't complain about characters, I think like it's agreeable that Bat could use more effective counterplay than wasting your time to hit the ball away from her instead of, like, you know, punishing her for, or like the player for making the mistakes. Because, like, as it stands right now, you don't really punish the player playing Bat for making a mistake. Like, if you want to get rid of balls, you have to, like, ignore the player and go hit the ball, and you kind of don't want to be ignoring the person that's standing in the way of your win.
Yeah, it's more annoying trying to deal with them than it is, like, fun to play at sometimes, because at some, when I play against Pat Pat, it feels like I'm waiting for them to like make a mistake or hang themselves up, and then I'll be like, oh, now it's my turn to play.
I agree. I totally agree with that. Is there anything you wanted to add, Zetta, that we haven't covered yet?
I think we did the gist of it. I guess just to reiterate, because we did do a lot of just hammering on this character. I think the character especially is, like, there's a reason that they've gotten super popular, and that's just that the visual design is really good, the game feel of the character is really good. It's just a matter of, there's a lot of resources that need to be looked at and fixed, because they're very overtuned.
I agree. I totally 100% agree.
Sai, we love your character.
Sai, I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me.
Please give Kazuki more animations so that I can yell at people to add her to weeklies again.
All right, so I think we're on down to the last character. I think we've covered all but one at this point, which is Cubit.
Oh yeah, Cubit.
Coming back from shotguns, I thought you were gonna use that as a good transition from Clockwork. Is now we are running with Cubit.
No, it's okay. It's all right. I'm a master of transitions. Don't you worry, Duckster. But Cubit, yeah. This is kind of the ones where I'm weaker in the knowledge sign, because I think the first time I saw Cubit was in Blueberry Bout when I fought Gnome, and he went to Cubit, lost the stock, and then he went Cubit, lost the game, and then went to auto, I think. Like immediately afterwards.
That sounds like a Toon Link incident.
Talking about Cubit though, first impression wise, sorry, Cubit, when I first saw them in Blueprints and saw their trailer, all I could think about was how amazing and eye-popping the animations were. There's a lot of personality like put in them, and I love them so much.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry.
I was just gonna agree that I think they put a really, like, there's a lot of care into the visual design of that character. That I think another thing with Blueprints specifically is that it was really funny that one of the complaints that I got is that there were a lot of people who were like, hey, it's me, the person you've never heard of before. And then Cubit's trailer starts with it like, Cubit joins the battle, and then Sandberg's just there like, who?
Who?
Some drip on your name. Ah, man. I know I pinged you about it, but I really did like the meme I did where what 3 minutes per trailer does to a motherfucker.
Yeah, but Cubit, they popped up to me really well. I just love their animations, super smooth, and man, I don't know why I like their basic look of like a block and having like a block shotgun. That shotgun feels great.
All I'm gonna say on the matter is Cubit Nice. I got permission from Watt to use Cubit Nice as one of my emotes.
Cubit nice, and please make a plushie of them, man. Like,
yeah, no, I'd help you with that fun, dude. Cubit plushie on God, that'd go great on the shelf.
On God?
No cap. I like Cubit as well. Like, as a character, I think they're very nice, and I have to try and like not sound impartial because like Watt's really cool as like a person, and I gotta try to like maybe I don't know. How am I biased? That Zetta was the one that asked for Cubit. I can't be biased, bro. Bro, shut up.
It's weird because I asked for Cubit, and I don't actually have a lot to say about the character, but there are a couple things. The main things that I think about when I think about Cubit is, one, just everything feels really satisfying with them. I think we already kind of said that. The other, which is more of a negative point, but I still think is good, it means that it's not that far off, is there's a lot of cool stuff going on, but there's not a lot of ways that it's conveyed to the player.
Right, yeah. Definitely going back to what we talked about with chess piece, where it's like, if you're having something that's complex, it's important to convey the information in a simple way. Like, if you wanted to like know how chess piece works, there's not like, hold on. There's not like some in-game tutorial taunt menu that you have to go through. It's just like, oh, well, think about it like a chess piece. Like, rooks are pretty big and heavy, so when you go rook, you're big and heavy.
talking about in-depth tutorials and in rivals and stuff. Yo, shout outs to Mono for adding monophone because it did help me figuring out this character a bit faster because they did have that compatibility.
I mean, I would never have known
Yeah.
that Tempo's grounded forward special was always fully charged if I never checked the phone. I would never have known that unless I checked the phone, which would have made my first guide very bad.
Also, just sound design of this character is also just really well. You know, it's like music to my ears.
Yeah, I think Watt really
Yeah.
hit it out of the park with their first character.
Yeah,
Damn, really? Is their first character?
Yeah, it's their first.
yeah.
Damn, they proved me like that's amazing to be honest.
I'm excited to see what Watt's gonna do next. It'll be 300. Like Cupid already, like I haven't played them too much, but they feel super fun. And like seeing them, like listening their sound, it's all super cool. I actually did have a secret last minute edition that wasn't like released at the time of Blueprints, but was shut off in Blueprints. I wanted to talk about that's incredibly recent.
Oh. I have not played much with this character, but I already know who you're talking about.
Bro, we're getting hit with a mix-up.
It's Paper Mario and Olivia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy shit, Clay! Like, why the hell did you go so hard?
Dude, but seeing their progress done in the extended workshop Discord was mind-boggling. Why someone would put as much effort as they did with those
Yeah, no, like
transformations.
I didn't realize like their release date was March 10th, and then it like happened. It's like, oh, by the way, Paper Mario and Olivia. So I'm like, what? Oh the hell!
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, we talk about like fine-tuned with like overpowered options. I think Paper Mario is fine-tuned when it comes to quality. Like outside of my game crashing once when I did Ice Dragon Down Strong, holy shit! Like, you could honestly tell me that like someone else made that character and I would honestly believe. Like, good lord, everything just works perfectly in time. They even found like an interesting way to add in the action time mechanics. Like, that's big. Like, I gave Slep praise for that when I talked about Liz and Kitsuga. By the way, Slep, Kitsuga, when is it happening? I will main Kitsuga in bracket if you ever buff them, please. Like, timing your inputs is like an interesting way to benefit the player in this like type of movement heavy game. And like timing your inputs with Paper Mario and Olivia, and like with side special and dash attack, oh my god. It sends me into a state of pure elation. Just the amount of nice the game feels. My only complaint would be like, they seem too well tuned. Like, if I was to play them competitively, it seems like it'd be like a lot more work than from when I tried to play Hero competitively, which was already a lot of work.
Yeah. I don't know. I think my takes are more mixed on Paper Mario right now. Just that they feel like, and I do mean this in sort of a good way, sort of a bad way. It's kind of weird because this is normally just purely negative, but they're kind of a mess. And by that I mean there is so much going on with that character. Some of it works really well, some of it doesn't. Like, I think the biggest thing that comes to mind is coins. Coins are only available on neutral air and down special, so they're only used in 2 moves in the kit, and their only use is that you can spend 10 coins to extend the duration of neutral special, which doesn't really feel like it's a worthwhile or interesting addition to the kit.
Like an investment. I feel like they could add more uses for coins.
Yeah, no, dog, I'm gonna be honest, I still do not know what Magic Circle does. I kind of downloaded the character, picked them up, and then like the pretty colors kind of blindsided me for a minute.
Yeah. So Magic Circle is, that one's not too bad. I think it would be easier if it like conveyed it more, like if on the HUD it kind of glowed when it showed you your next chest to tell you. Magic Circle just means that your next chest is guaranteed to contain like a super attack.
Okay, yeah. Like, as I've played the character, what is it? The Paper Mario and Olivia feels natural to me because, like, the first Smash Ultimate character I really clicked with was Hero. And, like, a lot of Hero's kit that, like, you know, people complain about was how, like, random it was. Like, 32 different spells on down special alone. And, like, what I liked so much about that, what Muno Steve kind of does and takes out, like, the randomness factor, is like thinking on your feet with what you're given. Like looking down at my HUD and seeing, oh, I got a left arrow, I got an up arrow, I got a magic circle, and I got double damage. Well, I can grab double damage last to make sure I don't get hit, and magic circle means that my next one will have a super in it. I could probably zone out with Bowser Jr. going into the arrows, and then as I pull out my next chest, I'll have double damage on my strong. Like stuff like that. Thinking on your feet with what you're given is like my favorite type of playstyle from Smash and in here as well. And I'm super fucking stoked that Clay did such a good job with it.
Yeah, I think again I have a little bit different of a take there. I think the problem with it is that on paper is good. See what I did there, but on paper it's good. But the problem is that when you open a chest, they fly in pretty much random directions, and that kind of sets up where it's hard to really work with, especially the arrows. They're the only ones that you can move around, which I feel like you should be able to do that with the supers as well. But the problem is having an arrow and being able to do anything useful with it is very tricky and very rarely ends up happening, and it always just feels like they're just kind of there to fill out the chest contents.
I kind of agree with you on that, actually, believe it or not, despite my previous takes. Like, arrows feel super harder to use because, like, what is it? Even though you can move them around, because of how when you open up the chest, everything kind of flies out. Like, when you think on your feet with Hero, it's not like, you know, all of your spells just suddenly appear on screen and you gotta go get them. It's like you stand still and you have to pick your spell from, like, a list. And, you know, when you start getting better at Hero, you know, you can read the spell list super quickly. That's like one of the things I learned was how fast you can read that spell list. And like when you start learning about, you know, the benefits to each spell and which ones to just flat out avoid, it's kind of the same thing here, but the difference is think of it like the useless spells on Hero linger. Like you can't just click something else and then everything resets and you get to try again. Like if I'm looking at a spell list and all I have is like Acceleratal, Ka-Clang, Ka-Crackle Slash, and Whack, I'm gonna take Acceleratal and just hope I get something else on the second down special.
Yeah, I think some of it is it's like, in a way, it's the opposite of Hero. That when you use Hero, you have the positioning. You set up the positioning of where you're going to attack, but it's the attack that's random. With Paper Mario, you can see on the bottom of your HUD what attack you're going to have next. The problem is you don't know exactly where it's going to be.
Right, yeah, I can agree with that. I think, like, I don't know if it would compromise the design too much to suggest, like, being able to, like, I do think, you know, like, if you can manipulate the arrows with, I think it's side special where you can pull them around, like, why not do it with, like, the strongs, but I could understand potentially that, like, has a potential to might be upsetting, like a bit more upsetting isn't just like a general super strong buff, but more like could potentially make fighting Paper Mario unfun. I don't know, but I would like to see it happen. Like I think what a lot of people touched on this earlier, what a lot of people don't realize they can do is that you could just do a patch that changes something, and if it doesn't work, just revert it back. Your patches aren't going to be like super long lasting. Like, even if it's, like, the last patch you plan for, it's like, if enough people outcry to you about something, you could just fix it.
Yeah, I describe Paper Mario right now like Launch Amber, where the character is fun. The character has a lot of cool ideas going on, and they do feel fun. The problem is just that there's so much to keep track of that is just, like, it makes it to the point that the character doesn't necessarily feel practical. If you were to try to go play friendlies with Paper Mario, or even better yet, try to enter a tournament with Paper Mario, there is so much going on that it's not easy to get any of it off in a reasonable amount of time. But more importantly is that it's just like, it's not very intuitive, and it's very easy for your opponent to just beat you up before you can ever get them anywhere near your magic circle.
Right, yeah, like, one of the things also about that is double damage goes away on hit. Like, I'm not saying that is a bad thing, I'm saying that it's, like, just a general fact. Because, like, it's important when you say, like, your opponent can beat you up before you get anything started. Like, totally you can get something, like, similar happening with Hero. I've been drawing this comparison because it's what I'm most familiar with. Where, like, you could totally get your absolute shit rocked before you could ever get up, like, a stat buff onto yourself. But again, what you brought up being the different factor is that, like, you just can't control where they go. And they could just go, like, in a bad spot. I played, like, a singular game of Paper Mario and Olivia friendlies before recording this with someone who's playing Bat Bat. And it was very weird playing them because I didn't really go for neutral special all that much. I mean, outside of using Bowser Jr. for like as just a super big projectile, I mean, really like where Paper Mario like shines in terms of viability is actually in his aerials. Like forward air with Olivia, it's a powerful move. It's like this big disjoint move that like doesn't come anywhere near Mario and can like multi-hit, and it's like just nice. It's a very nice move, and it's a lot nicer than like why would I like give up the consistency of Paper Mario aerials for like just standing on the ground and using neutral special? Because like I'll get double damage or something, or maybe even extra jump, but what if I get my shit rocked?
Yeah. I think personally, and this is a very extreme change, and I understand that, but if I were in charge of like just changing Paper Mario right now, what I would do is I'd make it so that it costs coins to even use neutral special. So like you said, there's more of a focus, like, which is where it kind of feels like the character should be, is there's more of a focus on just the chest is just a part of the kit. It's not the kit itself. And at the same point, I would probably just make it 2 items per chest, maybe even get rid of the arrows, and just have it so that it rewards you with either the double damage or an extra jump, and then the magic circle and the super.
Right, yeah. See, you say that, and it actually brings up a pretty nice point where when I was first like trying to figure out how to play the character, when I first like installed them and started playing in training mode, one of the things I always saw from Clay was like, oh, Bowser Jr. gets affected by the arrows. And I thought like, oh, that's cool. And I tried to figure out what button Bowser Jr. is to do that, and it's only grounded up special that does that, which seems so weird in retrospect. Like, I'd understand not making it forward special because you need forward special to be the pull to move arrows around, but it's grounded up special. What if I'm off stage? I'm not going to be using the arrows off stage unless one of them pulls me in or one of them goes upwards. I don't even think like you could move an arrow off stage and use it for recovery. I think it would go away by the time you can make any use out of it. It seems very jarring to me, but outside of that, like if neutral special, outside of neutral, I love their kit. Outside of neutral and down special, Paper Mario and Olivia's normals feel so nice. So nice. All of them. I don't know the action timing for down special, but all of them just feel so nice.
I can absolutely agree there. I feel like I just mash down strong.
Like all of them feel so nice. It's just like neutral special kind of is weird to use and like sometimes not practical. And down special, like the coins don't have much interaction outside of like making your next chest like appear for longer, which, you know, obviously we covered. It's not really like all too much of a all too much of like a buff, all things considered.
Yeah. I think that's the big thing, is it's like it's easy to talk about the chest because it's like it's the big glowing item, it's the biggest thing on your HUD, it's the easiest thing to look at and be like, oh, that's interesting, I want to use that. But really where the character shines is everything except that.
Right, yeah. It feels so weird, but I really do enjoy Paper Mario, and I hope, Clay, if you ever listen to this, I do hope you don't take this as us bashing on your character. We do really like it. I am at least a huge fan.
Yeah. I like Paper Mario a lot. I think that there's a lot of stuff there that works. I mean, if, like, I'm do want to actually do a video on them at some point. I'm just kind of hoping that there's waiting for a couple of the initial patches. Because like I said, I think there's a lot of rough things that will get ironed out. But, and I'm sure of that. I know Art Block does great work with characters and stages and whatnot. So I'm sure that eventually they'll be in a really, really good spot. And they're not in a bad spot.
They're in a weird
it's just
spot.
That the biggest, it's the biggest thing that you look at when you download the character. The biggest thing you look at is that chest. And when you get in and you play with that chest and you're like, wait a minute, how does this really work out? It ends up not feeling as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Ducky, do you have anything you want to say?
I'm
All right.
just chilling. I get to touch this character as much.
All right,
as
so I guess that's it. Well, that looks to be everything that I really specifically wanted to cover. I thank you so guys for listening in. Both of you, thank you so much for agreeing to come on to this on relatively short notice. It's probably going to be weird because it's episode 1, but hopefully we should have the rest of this ironed out for future episodes. So yeah, thank you so much for agreeing to come on.